the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.
So, Jacob,
What a change.
I forgot to bring headphones for Ramiro.
Why did you do that? You had one job.
I had one job.
One job.
And here we are, live.
Live.
Oh, gosh.
I know. Live.
I can't
Everybody's
believe
watching.
it.
The world is watching.
The world is watching. And I didn't bring headphones.
I know. I said, no, before we go to Las Vegas, I've got cables, I've got microphones, I've got a laptop, I've got audio equipment. I just don't know if I have room for headphones for Ramiro.
Yep.
And you said, I got you covered.
I have the headphones. You take everything else. I'll take the headphones. And I did not bring headphones.
All jokes aside, it's totally on me.
Okay. So, if you're wondering why we have a guest here, Jacob, we have a
we do. We have to.
We are so lucky. We're so honored.
We are so honored. We have a guest, and you could already hear a very jolly, lovely laughter in the background. So you know the audience can have that sense. They know this is going to be a fun show. We're going to have a good time. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, the president of the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, Ramiro Cavazos. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
You're here.
Nice to meet you guys.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Where are my headphones? No.
You know what?
Man.
I feel like I've got just right under here. Yeah.
I'll be honest. I played blackjack and I used them on the table. I was really down.
That was the last bet.
That was the last bet. I was like, how much for these headphones?
Yeah, that's right. Because for those of you who don't know this, we're at the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and then this is the. I'm going to get the convention name right. So
it is our 42nd annual national conference, and we're meeting at the Mandalay Bay.
Yeah.
So we're out here in fantastic Las Vegas, Nevada.
We are.
On Raider game day, no less.
Yes,
so
I know.
It's packed here. And so Jacob's, all he's got left is what you see on him. Everything else has been gambled.
I've lost everything. My wife is going to be so disappointed in me, but I'm having a great time. No, I love this hotel. It's a beautiful location, and so far it's been great, and I'm really excited about this convention. And we're in the captain's room. We look so
nice.
Sleek. Look at this.
Yeah, it looks like a captain's room.
Well, I was going to say the same thing. We walked in here. I was like, this is like on a ship. This is like the bridge of a ship. This is where the captain gets to hang out. The sun, the wood, and everything. It's really nice.
Yes, it is. It is. And I got to say that I thought I dressed to look nice, and then Ramiro walked in the door, and I went, wow.
Well, I'm a little overdressed.
No, here's the thing. It doesn't matter what we do. We're never going to look as good as you.
No.
It's not that
we have a face for radio.
Okay.
Well, let's get started. Let's kick off a little bit. What we love to do on this show is give our audience a chance to meet you, to get to know you, and hear about your journey. What led you to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, this has become a really massive chamber, right? The U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce is
huge.
It's fantastic, right?
Yeah.
And so you're at the helm of it. So there must have been a story here.
Well, I mean, it's an organization that was started by 5 business people 42 years ago in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Men and women who felt that the Latino community was not at the table sufficiently enough from an economic development standpoint. And yet the irony is this is a nation, as many folks know, that was founded by the Spanish and was formerly significantly Mexico. And over the years, the value system had changed in this country as other immigrants came. And so for us, it's not that Latinos are better, it's just that
we think they are.
We feel that we have created this country over the years, over the last 500 years. The culture that is America is part of our Latino culture, and it's now part of our DNA. And so we're very proud of the entrepreneurship of these people. And so I'm very fortunate to work as the head staffer for a team that represents our national network of 260 Hispanic Chambers of Commerce from Hawaii to Puerto Rico, Alaska, Florida, and of course Wisconsin, all the way down to the Rio Grande Valley and Rhode Island Northeast. So it growing, 20% of the population, and a huge economic impact.
Yeah.
Well, truly from sea to shining sea. That is the expanse.
And then at the end of the sea, all the way out to an island in the middle of the
Another
ocean.
one. That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. You got to add that addendum to the song.
That's true.
Sea to shining sea, out a little bit, then back again.
It's funny you talk about the culture and how much of American culture is part of the Latino culture, right? Because Rio Grande, right? Rio Grande River.
Yeah.
Rio Grande.
We're from California. That's what they always calls it, right? You say California.
Every street, every city, it's all got that Latino influence.
Absolutely. There's so many. I mean, particularly down in this part of the country, here in the Southwest. I mean, it's every name.
Yeah.
It's,
It is. I mean, if you look at the 50 states, California, Texas, New Mexico, Colorado, even Nevada. Nevada means snowdrift in Spanish. So
and Arizona's got to be.
And Arizona, and then even Montana, next to Canada, montaña means mountain in Spanish. So there are at least 10 states. Florida means La Florida, flowery state, because that's what the first settlers saw was this beautiful location. And so
if they had seen an alligator, what would it have been called?
well, they probably would have named it Lagarto.
Lagarto. Welcome to Lagarto.
Yeah, but it would not have been as nice as La Florida or Florida. Yeah. But 20% of our states come from the Spanish language, their name. And of course, if you look at America, 20% of our population, Hispanic. And the thing that I want to point out, people don't know, 80% of the 63 million people that live here that self-identify as Hispanic are, born here. They're 8th or 9th generation. All you hear is that, the immigrants this, the immigrants that. We're all immigrants to this country except for Native Americans, as you all know, if we know our history. And so I'm very proud that this community is the fastest growing consumer for all Fortune 1000 firms. If you look at states like New York, Illinois, Colorado, Florida, Arizona, Texas, Nevada, and California, all those states, major states, I think I mentioned New York also, big growing Latino populations.
Yeah.
And Latinos are Afro-Latino. We're also Black.
Sure.
We're Asian, if we're Filipino Latinos, or Korean Panamanian Latinos.
Right.
And then we're also white. We have a lot of Caucasian, in our community. People that came from Europe, Spain, and people that were already here. So this is not a race.
Yeah.
It's an ethnic group. And so, quite frankly, anybody can be Latino. And it's I think it's part of the culture that is so welcoming.
That's what we keep telling people when we break into the rooms. We're like, we're Latino too.
We're Latino too.
Part of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
no, that was so well put. That was really, really well put. And I love that. I love the sound of that. You mentioned Texas, and I believe you're a Texas man, aren't you?
I am. I'm born and raised in Texas. I'm speaking of having settled, my family came over 300 years ago in South Texas when it was Mexico and Spain. Yeah. We still speak Spanish in my family. When people ask me, and I'm a 7th generation Texan, they ask me, well, what are you? And usually we'll say, I'm Tejano, or I'll say Mexicano, even though, I'm as American as everyone else. But it's a way of again, just kind of drilling down within our ethnic groups where we're from and what part of the country. Over 30 countries that Latinos come from that come to this country over the years, or that were already here. So I'm from Texas, born and raised in what is known as the Rio Grande Valley, the Rio Grande River, which is called the Rio Bravo on the Mexican side. My family was on both sides of the river. We love to tell people we didn't cross the border crossed us. But we grew up in my South Texas upbringing. 95% of the folks were Hispanic, and so our mayor, our county judge, our elected officials, doctors, lawyers, superintendents, everybody was Latino. So when I went off to college in Austin at the University of Texas, I was shocked that I was one of 3% there on campus. But that resiliency of growing up and having self-confidence, self-esteem is so important to pull you through, and for any of us, not just Latinos. And so very proud to be from Texas. I also know that Texans are very independent, and
we just spent a week there last week.
We did.
It
We
was
were
the
just
most
there.
hilarious.
Absolutely independent.
That's so great.
And not all Texans agree with other Texans.
We saw that too, actually.
We did.
And so it's a very diverse state. A lot of new people have moved there.
Yeah.
But it's 30 million people, so second to California.
Yeah.
Obviously, most of my family is there. I get to work in Washington. That's where our headquarters office is at. So I commute from Texas. But the fact of the matter is that most of our travel is to visit our chambers and our communities. So we were going to move to Washington, but my wife has her own career in the energy industry. There's doesn't make any sense to punish her and take her career away because, I had a job in Washington. But I'm very fortunate that our board of directors have said, if you keep doing what you're doing, hitting the milestones, obviously a big part of your job is reaching out to community. You're going to be on the road anyway in this job. Why move your family somewhere? And you're not going to be there yourself. So we've been very fortunate, great board of directors. We were virtual before COVID hit, so we were already...
Before it was cool.
Before somewhat cool,
Set
right?
the trend.
So we just, again, I use Texas as a platform because I used to run the San Antonio Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, which was America's first Hispanic chamber, founded in 1929. I will say I was not there at the beginning, but I
That's
know
a surprise. But
I learned my trade, my economic development and chamber training. So when this job opened up 3 years ago, I wasn't going to apply for it because I thought they needed to hire a powerful Latina at the time. The Me Too movement was happening, and I thought, what better way to send a message than to hire a Latina? And so I just threw my hat in the ring as a marker, and as I got into it, I realized that it needed to be rebuilt and reorganized and really become a powerful organization based on the fact that you had somebody leading it that was responding to the needs of the chambers and our community, that was not in an ivory tower in Washington, but really a servant leader that would listen to the needs of our small business community because the needs are so great. And then, of course, COVID hit. None of us saw that coming, but we have really adjusted and grown because our members have all been creative and innovative to survive. And so I'm very, our businesses, fail at a lower percentage rate than their non-Latino counterparts, and that's because we're hungry, we're thriving, and we're creative and trying to survive, get contracts, get capital, support one another.
Yeah,
and part of that is the culture of our community.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The last point you made. I mean, having organizations like this one to call to for like help. Like, gosh, I'm having trouble here. I'm having this problem. I need help with that. It's so important to have a community to come into it to help.
I mean, each of our chambers became an emergency room for small businesses during this time, and some of them themselves were in danger of shutting down because their members said, I can't pay my dues. So a lot of members were suspending their membership, a lot of chambers. And so we did our best to put chamber grants out there, small business grants, thanks to our corporate partners and to other foundations. And so our job is not to keep the money in Washington, it's to put it out in the community. So more than $2 million we put out there, capital for our chambers and their members. And then when the Paycheck Protection Program came, we had to really get the word out and get our 501c3, our nonprofit chambers, C3s and C6s, also apply for PPP. They were not part of the original, CARES Act. And so even our chambers were able to survive like a business would by applying for those funds, which were forgivable. So we're just so proud of the resiliency. But those chambers, each of them, from sea to shining sea,
and the island,
and the islands out there, each of them is an economic oasis for that community. And you just mentioned the partnerships. They've created an ecosystem, a network, a family where they support one another, because small business owners tend to just do their job and not bother anybody.
Absolutely.
But they had to come out of the woodwork and find capital and find contracts and training and access to our programs and others to survive. And then they've invested in each other. Small businesses sent business to one another because they knew if they didn't do that, they'd all not survive. So it's been a a huge learning experience for us, and knowing how interconnected we are as a community, more than we ever thought, and also the tremendous acts of kindness that people did for one another, not just Latinos, everyone, to make sure that we come out on the other end of this COVID that is relentless and hasn't stopped,
Right.
to really have a stronger economy, have an economy where we support one another, and we create jobs and wealth for all communities. And so it's been a huge learning experience, but it's been an honor to work for the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, doing this work during probably the hardest times.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It's pretty amazing how if you can do it, if you can survive, if you can make it through the disaster, you really do come out the other side of it better.
Yeah.
Somehow, and that's great to see. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We are an environmental show.
Yes.
So we want to dig into that a little bit. I'm actually curious. Have you found in the business community that the environment is starting to become a topic? Is that something you're starting to have to look at?
It's the most important topic of our time. There's no question that global warming is real. Facts are the facts, and we embrace data because it drives our policy decisions. So I'm glad that during this time, we're working with our members to provide energy efficiency. It's actually a way of saving money for small businesses. We have a program with Toyota called Green Bills Business, where we teach small business owners around the country to be efficient with their costs by actually recycling, doing energy efficiency, renewable energy.
Sure.
It's not just an innovation that's a wave of the future. It's a necessity as far as we feel. And so I'm glad you all are focused on the environment because, quite frankly, this country has an amazing environment that we need to protect, and we need to realize that when we see hurricanes sustain the damage that they do, a lot more than 10, 20 years ago, the droughts that we're seeing that last 10 years in the West, that creates economic damage for our communities. And so for us, everything is tied to the environment economically.
Yeah. You said something, and that's what I was about to say, which was when you were talking about this interconnectedness with all of us, and then also how small business and business owners focus so much on their personal responsibility, that is such a great parallel for what we're all doing for the planet as well, right? Because there is this sense that you have two camps that it's just all about, we've all got to come together, and it's not about the individual changes. And then you've got the other camp that says it's all about the individual changes and there's nothing else that can happen. But it's both. It's both. It's being a part of all of us together and making those little adjustments.
It is. I mean, I have two boys, 15 and 12. It's the best thing I've ever done is to become a dad.
Absolutely.
And I became a dad later in life for the first time, and I now see things through their eyes that I never would have imagined. And they are not only are they digital natives, but they're very up to speed on what's going on. And even within my family, I have a son that loves Tesla and wants me to buy a Tesla, and I have another son that wants me to get a muscle car. But they both acknowledge that both technologies, fossil fuel and of course renewable electronic technology need each other.
Yeah.
And that is something that, because even building solar panels requires fossil fuel.
Yes.
And so that's a kind of fun conversation we have in the car when we're driving. But the point that I wanted to make, every one of our companies that's a member that is an energy company, huge global operations, they themselves have renewable or hydro or some type of initiative to blend fossil fuel with this new technology that's going to save the planet, quite frankly, and save their own economy. And so there's an acknowledgement that we need both. In fact, I wanted to mention that we are having, so we've decided for the first time as the United States Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, on Earth Day in 2022 to plan an energy summit.
Nice.
And we're going to
Love
do
it.
it in Albuquerque and Santa Fe, and believe it's April 22nd of 2022.
That's Earth Day.
And we're just excited about it. We're putting that marker out now, so all of our big energy companies and, of course, also suppliers and companies that focus on the environment, that we have a conversation, an honest conversation with everybody at the table. We haven't designed the program yet, but we put that date out there. It'll be in New Mexico, where we have a strong set of Latino chambers, and also a state that has probably the most far-reaching, innovative legislation on renewable energy, and that's the second largest fossil fuel producing state in the country.
Right.
Yeah.
New Mexico, next to Texas, but that state has the #1 guidelines and regulations focused on how do you get to the next level when it comes to environmental protection. So we'll be sharing more information on that, but it is April 22nd, 22 in Albuquerque and in Santa Fe. I think we're having a welcome reception at the governor's mansion in Santa Fe, and then we'll do most of our sessions in Albuquerque, where the great Albuquerque Hispano Chamber of Commerce, one of our board members is Ernie C. de Baca, and he is a big champion for this. So really, it's his vision that's brought this forward.
That's so
Actually,
exciting.
a perfect spot for it, because New Mexico is I mean, as you said, they're sort of a leader in the concept of the transition, going from a fossil fuel-based state to one that could potentially very easily become a huge generator of energy that's renewable, because you got plenty of wind and you got plenty of sunlight.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
There's a lot of opportunity there to kind of to transition themselves and to sort of lead to a new area. So it's really pretty apt, pretty perfect to have a convention around energy, and even energy transition on Earth Day in that spot. So it's
Yeah.
great.
We're
That's
excited,
very exciting.
and New Mexico's also struggled with the huge droughts in the West.
Yeah.
It's impacted their economy and their tourism, and so we're learning as we go. I mean, we don't have all the answers. I know I don't, but we are committed to representing the needs of our citizens, our economy, our small businesses, and many of them want us to be on the cutting edge of the environment, because they know what everybody knows. But we do have two different camps. I'll acknowledge that. Some folks are resistant of the data, the facts, the reality of the future, and the fact that we are going through a time where we need to act now, or else we may impact ourselves negatively for years to come. And as a nation, we should be leading that conversation, not lagging other nations like Europe and Asia that are way ahead of us when it comes to protecting the environment, air quality, and being innovative with technology. I mean, most of the technology in the world that we invent, we don't even use when it comes to energy, even like the bullet train. For
Right.
example,
Yeah.
the Shinkansen in Japan, that magnetic rail that goes 150, 200 miles per hour,
Yeah.
was invented in the U.S. We have yet to incorporate that in our own nation.
Well, and it is a little sad, right? When we had a grant in California specifically for let's make that underground bullet train that
Yeah.
takes you to
San Francisco.
from LA to San Francisco in 20 minutes at 1,000 miles an hour or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And then they did it like the money just went to consultants to.
We have a
got
quarter
plans.
hole under the ground in LA. We have this little tunnel that was partially built.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, maybe the consultants were faster
Yeah.
than
Oh,
the technology
yes.
to get to the money. But yeah,
Is that a problem that you have to you run into with businesses? Do they get the frustration where money doesn't get to the programs that are needed for business, for small business, or has that worked out okay?
we always have to, we do trust
Yeah.
people, but we have to verify.
Sure.
In the words of former President Ronald Reagan, we need to make sure, especially with small business grants,
Yeah.
chamber grants, we always make sure to decentralize those decisions. We should not be deciding in Washington the 200 small business grants that we want our chambers to award. We should, and the way we operate, we trust our chambers.
Yeah.
We give them the tools that they need and the funding, and we tell them, you pick the small business owners.
Yeah.
These are just the raw parameters. And so I do think that you need to give people space to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And I think that to your question, there is a cottage industry in some places that is so bureaucratic that if you award an initiative or a program, that sometimes the actual action or the execution of it never happens because all the money got used for consulting,
Right.
or for public relations,
Right.
And so yes, optics and messaging are important, but we need to have action items that we can see through to the end. And I that's how I love to operate, is that I love to put my action items every day within our little space of world, and I love to check them all off because, quite frankly, you could be talking for years about stuff and it never gets done. And talk is cheap. Words, sometimes are not as strong as the actions. And so for me, I really agree with you that that's what disappoints a lot of U.S. citizens too, is that we have seen this time and time again, and I believe that we need to change the way we do business and make sure that we do what we say we're going to do. And I think that that's on our elected officials. The sad thing is, not the best people run for public office in this country. It's not something they desire to put themselves out there.
Well, the ones who you'd want to run for public office are often so busy doing the things that they don't have time to run for public.
Well, that's a big part of it.
Very true.
They are too smart to run for public office. I don't mean to insult anyone that's an elected official.
Oh, we're happy. We insult people all the time.
We're comedians.
But
so.
They know it's a funny show. No big deal.
But I love to tell people, we're not at the U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. We're bipartisan. We're not red or blue. We love to say we're red, white, and blue.
Love it.
But our favorite color is green. And green is the environment, and green is money.
Yeah.
And so, and I've said that before publicly, and of course, it gets a rise out of people. But I just
bottom line. I mean,
but it's the bottom line.
It is. You can't. If you have a passion for the environment like we do. I mean, that's one thing we've realized with Biofriendly is like, we can sit here and talk and be happy about the environment and try to say nice things, but if we don't go out there and actually do things that create some revenues to help support programs and to actually make things happen,
right?
Then nothing's gonna happen.
money is the measurement of energy. If you want to get things to happen, you need it. So it's,
And this right down the middle, this idea. First of all, I love that red, white, and blue. Their color's green. We're stealing that, Noel.
Yes.
The official line of the
Biofriendly
podcast.
No, what I love about it is this idea of coming back to the center. We've been far too long, and it's been getting worse and worse of camps. We keep talking about that. And even earlier when we were talking about energy sources and moving to renewables, but still needing fossil fuels to be part of the conversation. And that's what a lot of people forget, is that you can't start excluding. We all have to work together and figure this out. And we need each other.
We need each other. We need to find a way to work with our enemies.
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
There's no other way to say it. You cannot keep ignoring each other and yelling at each other or talking to each other through others. Washington is broken right now. The way decisions are made. You all know that. And there's a saying that I stole. Somebody said, "Well, the plumbing's broken in Washington."
True.
And instead of bringing in more mops to clean up the water, we need to have people come in and fix the plumbing.
Get to the pipes.
We need to get to the pipes. We need to fix the plumbing, and that plumbing needs to connect. The folks that right now aren't talking to one another and connect directly to them. And we see that with our own eyes. It's very disappointing when we're trying to advance issues for our members, be it environmental issues, small business issues, or trade issues, and these people are unwilling to work with one another or even speak to one another. And so for us, our job is to set the tone, the example. We have on our own board, it's a small board of 22 people, but we have a diverse board It's elected by a committee, and we have Republicans, Democrats, we have young people, older people, different ethnic groups. We need to set the tone, our staff, the same way.
Yes.
You know, you can't just tell people what they should do. You need to walk the walk.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. And we've noticed that, by the way, that, you know, between the pre-event that we went to a month and a half ago or whatever, and in this one, just the team here is fabulous. You
Fabulous.
got a great group here.
Thank you.
We love
Wonderful people, and the business owners are all just so energetic and wonderful and
We love it.
passionate, and it's been a really, really great experience so far, and we can't wait to enjoy the rest of the
Thank
conference. I think
You've been
you
more
are a
than
busy
gracious
person,
with your time,
and you
and-
you said 30 minutes. We don't want to take longer
Yeah,
than we promised because you know, you got 100 things to do.
Yeah.
But,
Thank you all. Thank you both for being here and for partnering with us and for the work that you all do. You are educating people, and I think that's really what we all do here if we care about those messages. So thank you for talking about the environment. Thank you for believing in it, and we look forward to working with you.
Sounds
Thank
great.
you so much. It was so great to have you. So have
Ramiro Cavazos.
Yeah.
So happy you joined us today. So should we just do the fast
tags?
tags ever to get
Okay,
out of
you
here?
have to watch the fast
you have to
tags.
watch
It
this.
says,
He's stuck as he
he's
watches
stuck.
this.
Okay.
Okay.
Sometimes
okay.
we say our guests can leave, but we can't. He's stuck.
Here we go. We are your beacon of light in a gloomy environment.
Carefully avoiding neonicotinoids.
Oh gosh.
We are
it's-
the.
we are the Siegfried and
Phrase.
Roy and Meryl Streep of podcasts.
This show is a joke.
Never believe.
Step 1, chill out.
Spilling the teeth since 2019.
Technically perfect.
And
Cheerio.
It's the Biofriendly Podcast. It's the Biofriendly Podcast.